BYD is attacking the European market now also in the large EV SUV segment. This is here the updated BYD Tang, and they want to especially target, for example, Tesla Model X, or then also high-spec versions of the Tesla Model Y. And here with Thomas Nadufuhl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the BYD Tang and see here this very roundish front. Daytime running lights are integrated very widely. That looks actually pretty clean. We have like this gray bluish vehicle color here for you today. And at the side, 4 meters 97 or 196 inches is the length. They use 21-inch wheels here as standard, really large and also in this aerodynamic design. And the quite good performance figures, actually less than 5 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour. All-wheel drive means one electric motor in the rear, one in the front. The rear is slightly stronger. But when they rather go for, like slow driving or keep constant speed, more the front one is being used for efficiency reasons. And then in the side profile, you can see you have this flying roof effect from the design. Here with the update also, they reworked the suspension. You have an adaptive suspension. We're also going to test that here today on the German Autobahn with a high-speed test here for you as well. Because the question is, can they actually keep up to Tesla and also the German EV manufacturers as for the driving dynamics and agility, as for the high speeds and so on? On the EV side, you know that they build their own batteries and even sell them to other manufacturers. So on the battery side, they're always really very good in the game already. This one here gets a 109 kilowatt-hour battery gross. They do not tell the net figures, but it is said that they don't use large buffers. I always hate it when manufacturers don't release the net figures, but Tesla or Hyundai, Kia and so on, they do the same. They don't publish the net figures. Then here in the rear you can see also this mask around with the light effect. That looks also kind of cool, doesn't it? And you can see the contrasting part, a really clean design here with the silver in the lower part. Top speed is 190 kilometers an hour or around 120 miles per hour. And I can promise you, we will reach top speed today. As for recharging, you use a LFP battery. That means it has advantages as for longer durability, and it's also not that sensitive when it's often recharged to 100%. So these are the advantages. Disadvantage is it doesn't charge as quickly, so that's not their main strength. So they have 30 to 80%. They don't give the 10% figures in 30 minutes, so it's not that quick. It's 170 kilowatt peak. Actually, here you have also the DC cover right there. A heat pump, by the way, is standard for this one. Now to the interior. First of all, the key fob is not really premium alike, I have to say. However, let's take a look at the door closing sound. It's actually very solid. And also the door feels really heavy. That's nice. Also the panel gaps and so on. That's cool. Maybe the rear door closing sound. It's also very nice. That's cool. Then inside of the doors, here's also all soft touch and so on. Here's some microfiber. Also here the galvanized buttons. So this looks like a good quality. Only the inside of the lower door pockets is not really covered. Also all hard pack. And then you can see here we have digital instruments. So that's a contrast to like Tesla Model Y and 3, for example. On the steering wheel also real buttons, not hashtag capacitive ABS. For example, here for the cruise control. Unfortunately, the seat material is animal skin only. So in their smaller vehicles, they offer animal-free seating. In their bigger vehicles, they do not. They really need to fix this here if they want to be like really sustainable and also animal-friendly. And then take a look here. It's a very special feature. You have the floor mats. Well, the colors don't really fit the rest of the interior here, but yeah, nevertheless, what I want to show you here is like a double floor mat. So here there's like the fabric one. It's attached to the rubber one, and the rubber one is attached to the lower floor. So that way you have always both. And you can take this one here on the dirty ride and this one here on the fine ride, so to speak. Yeah, why not? Then the base ergonomics of the seats is actually quite nice. You have an upright full-size SUV feeling in this one here, and the steering wheel here electronically up and down, in and out. So this overall already makes a solid impression. And with 189 or 6'2", there's still some headroom left here, although this is the one with the panoramic roof. And you can see here, first of all, there's then here a shade. But the even more interesting thing is you can also open this one really. It's also something that Tesla, for example, does not have. So here, a fully functional panoramic roof. Hey Thomas, when are you playing with the screen? Yes, I can do it right now. So I can even do it from the steering wheel. This is what BYD has become famous for, that you can always switch around this screen here. So you either do it here with the button at the steering wheel or here in this lower right corner of the screen, 15.6 inch. And why would you actually need to do this? The thing is, also not Android Auto. The Android Auto and the navigation icon is pretty similar. So when you are interesting. So there we go. So when you are here in this infotainment system GPS mode, you know, when you're driving straight, it's always good to have the map then, you know, vertical. You see more like where you're going. So this is the main advantage. When you are more like seeking entertainment and stuff, or that's more aligned with the rest of the interior, then the horizontal mode is better. The climate unit here in the screen, you can take it here, but there's also a possibility to change it here with your right thumb in the digital instruments. So that is also, it's a little bit, you know, you have to click it through, there we go. And then you can also here with your right thumb scroll up and down. So it's a cool thing. You can also do it here that you not rely 100% on the screen. Yeah, and in general, that we have the instruments and even a head-up display. That is a big difference than, for example, to the Tesla offerings, as I said. The speed here of the infotainment system is also decent. Sometimes I feel that the overview could be a little bit better. That also, of course, counts for other manufacturers. The quality of the image and so on is good. And here, for example, to deactivate or activate the speed warning. Interesting, by the way, is the sound here of the turning indicators. Seriously? It's like ding dong, someone's on the door, or maybe like a, hey, it's a warning chime or something. But you can also change that here when you switch from brand vehicle prompt sound to standard. Then it changes the sound, the stationary sound of the vehicle. Yes, and at the same time, the indicators to a normal scheme. But we'll leave it here on this brand turning indicator to have a little bit more fun while driving then later on. Then here, middle console. This is a very nice real shifting lever, although we have an electric vehicle, but it's good as for the, you know, the whole haptic feeling. Also manual volume jog. So this interface I really like, I have to say. Also here for the drive mode, makes, you know, like some past Audi impressions, so to speak. And then here you slide this one open. Then Michel has stored his sunglasses there, or you can also have then here the adaptive cup holders and this middle console. Inductive charging pad underneath, and you can open this one here. More space, and also USB-C charging and USB-A charging. So yeah, overall also the quality here, look at that here, the microfiber underneath the dashboard, glove box is smoothly dampened and so on. A nice integration of the ambient lighting on top here, you can see that, and also underneath as well. So the build quality and also the user interface is good. The only thing I found here that some, like how the stuff is hidden in the main menu, is not always 100% self-explanatory. That I've seen better, but overall very decent what we see here so far on the interior, minus the animal friendliness aspect. Very interesting from the inside door handle, look at that. Here, do you see this? So here, you know, and that's the reason why with that it goes back in a smooth and slow way. So yeah, that's very interesting. Inside of the doors here at the rear is also soft touch, also with a nice microfiber. Just the door pockets again, where they have this rubber, you know, bottom at least, and yeah, then the rear seats here itself. So as I'm driving as a tall person, it's not too much legroom here considering the length of the vehicle. You can also move this whole bench here 2/3, 1/3 forward or backward. But I can't move it much more forward here to test the third seating row, because then I can't sit in the second seating row again. Headroom, however, is fine here, also for my size. And then we can fold down this here. We have also some cup holders, but overall also decent as for the build quality. Then here in the middle part, we have a climate unit for the rear seats, for example. This is all digital with the screen. In the very lower part, there are some chargers, USB-A and USB-C, and the same floor mat concept here. We have like this fabric one attached and then the rubber one underneath. However, here it doesn't seem like it would be fixed in the lower part. So that's interesting. So, I mean, it doesn't fly around much here in the second seating row, but yeah, definitely a very interesting concept. And now the even more interesting thing is, so I can change the angle of the seat here. This is also the way I need to pull down for the trunk and so on. And then to access this third seating row, actually, here I can go with this one here, but it's only on this side. So not on the driver's side, only on the passenger side. So the access to the 13 rows, not ideal. Here the rear door doesn't open too wide. Then also this one doesn't open too wide. At least here you can store this seat belt here in this small mechanism then here. And there you see it's not too much space actually. And there's not too much room that you can move the bench a little bit more forward. I can still try to climb in there for you. Let's see if we can make this. I mean, there are at least ISOFIX here in the third row, so you can use it for child seats and so on. Headroom is actually still okay, but here I cannot really sit here. So you can see here my legs would be like this, and maybe I could put this a little bit steeper and a little bit more forward, but that's it, and I would still not fit. So it's nothing for adults here in the rear. And you can see here this, also here in the third row, you have this dual floor mat concept once again. The top one is attached, but the lower one is not, and that is by that one just flying around here. However, you see here, I'm not sure if that would be changed in a later stage. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously meant to be attached to the lower floor, but not yet, at least. So, I mean, it's good to have this flexibility. That looks absolutely dumb how I'm sitting here. Thank you, yeah. But it's at least good to have the flexibility and just to know that although it has 5 meters in length approximately, it's not meant to house 7 tall Ls, but rather 5. Let's check out the trunk. It's very interesting because, yeah, you know, it's just a 7-seater, and that is also then reflected here in the trunk. So first of all, this cover here doesn't have rails at the side because of the 7-seater configuration. And here you have to put the seat belts behind here, though otherwise this is mismatching. So behind here, then you can pull back the cover back and forth. So that is actually working. Then here, cabin controller also fits vertically under the cover. That works. And we can also remove that whole thing. And that is also necessary actually if we, it's not too easy actually. So there we go. That's it. And then we can take a look here. The trunk is like 1 meter or 40 inches in width and goes then narrower between the wheel arches. And the length here is about almost 110 or 40, 110 meter or 43 inches. And then it gets really interesting. First of all, here underneath, there is some storage still for charging cables here in the rear. That is possible. And then we can also fold up here the 6th and the 7th seat like this. We pull this. That's an interesting strap, right? Like this, and then we can also pull up the head restraints like that. I mean, yeah, it's a manual solution, but I think it's pretty nice. I mean, it's easily, and you can store them here like this. So yeah, why not? And the fold the seats, you have to go around and then fold them down from here. It doesn't go like completely flat, but you can see it's very well usable here. Is there a frunk or not? No, there's not. Although there's plenty of space here in the front. I wonder about that. I think that could have been done better. Maybe there will be also some aftermarket solutions where you can put in a small frunk. You have to remember that the background of this vehicle is that, for example, in China, you can still get it as a plug-in hybrid. And before that, it was even sold as a pure petrol. So this was always like a mixed platform. The same also for the BYD CLU, which is available now as pure EV and also as a plug-in hybrid. Maybe that's also like part of the background there. Sport mode. That was 70 kilometers an hour to top speed, 190 kilometers an hour. So like, you know, 120 miles per hour, something like that. Went quite quick. 5 seconds is the acceleration figure, but here at top speed, wow, the vehicle doesn't feel that well to control, honestly, neither from the steering nor from the suspension. I have the active suspension mode here in comfort, in sport. I have to individually set that. And the strange thing is, when you're here in the sport mode and switch to the normal mode, this doesn't change. So it's not connected to the driving mode, so you have to pick that individually here. The acceleration is definitely good, like 5 seconds is the acceleration figure, the official one, and even when I'm at higher speed, it's all-wheel drive performance. The rear electric motor is a little bit stronger. However, when you don't need so much power, they use more the front electric motor for efficiency reasons, so that's very interesting. Michelle, are you calm or shocked? Michelle's eyes, like he has experienced much worse racetrack stuff, and yeah.
We did a few of those.
Yeah. So great in the performance and the acceleration, straight, but from the handling, yeah, as I said, both steering feel and suspension feel is not that you would feel like, hey, you are comfortable with driving these very, very high speeds. So although they can hold up in performance, when you then compare like the competitors, like from Tesla or also from the German large EVs, they have way better handling and like a calmer, more connected feeling to the road, especially at higher speeds. That's what we already found out here so far. In this specific vehicle, maybe you have to visit the workshop though, you maybe also see that the steering is not aligned to being straight. Like I'm driving straight, but the steering is like off like this. I had it in some Audis though as well, I have to mention that as well. And that was the thing that needs to be fixed in the workshop usually. When you're here at 100 kilometers an hour, like 60 miles an hour, noise insulation, because this is like the more, this is the more normal, more realistic motorway speed. Noise insulation is actually quite good. So driving a little bit slower, calmer on the motorway, and then maybe for a longer period of time is fine. As I said, next to the floor that has animal skin seats only, the base ergonomics of the seat is actually quite fine. Just to, the top surface is really stiff. That's the only exception. But you sit upright here, being in a large SUV, so that's fine in that respect here. And I would say as long as you don't really use German Autobahn speed figures, then it's also fine as for the motorway and so on. I really wonder about this. Yeah, this is the turning indicator. I showed that to you in the static part as well. Not sure if they're really serious about that, but yeah, stuff like this, of course, can later also be changed by software or by updates and so on. You always think like, oh, something is wrong. There's like a warning chime or something, right? Why does he want to go right? Whatever. So here's some lane change. I can also show you once again. Suspension is here then at these, like normal mediocre speeds, actually fine. Let's see if we can see any difference then here between sport and the comfort suspension mode, because they have an adaptive suspension right here. Slight difference, I would say. Yeah, but not too much. Let's see here. Once again, we go right and left, sport versus comfort. Maybe a little, but not that I would feel it so much. The steering mode in sport is already, rather soft. Here in the comfort steering mode, it's way softer. So for my taste, a little bit too soft. I would rather leave it in sport then. Yeah, in the active suspension mode. Also here when there's some bumps in the road, I'm not sure. It doesn't make a large difference to change the settings here. We do have 21-inch wheels mounted here on this vehicle, and the reason for that is they want to have a great looks on the outside. Then again, in some potholes, you do feel that they're large wheels, but then when the road is even like this, it's actually fine together with the suspension. It's not tuned on the sportiest mode, but also doesn't have to be tuned on the sportiest mode, I feel. Let's also test some assistance systems here. So here we can also show you camera view, for example, so it works very well. And here on the ICC they call it. So there we go, and let's see how I'm being actively kept in the lane so far. Here now, it's also slightly turning to the right, that road here. Let's see, distance is also being reduced, so speed is being reduced because the distance has also been reduced. And so far, it's also not with some hectic movements and so on, so it's actually calmly following the road here. So that is actually quite nice. Yeah, I think that's good. And you remember maybe when we did like the very, very early test with the BYD Seal, the sedan, assistance systems wise, and also like from sound, bling, bling, bling wise, and so on, that was, a little bit off. They really worked on it now, software updates and so on, and this is working very well now. So here now again, we can accelerate it out once more from 90. Let's go. Yeah, it's it's really nice in the acceleration at least. But you see there are some limitations as for the driving agility and the dynamics. However, noise insulation here, even at 120 kilometers an hour, like 70 miles an hour, is really good. You do get a very calm feeling when driving on the motorway and also when you're driving at higher speeds. That's a good part. Then some slower driving here, city traffic, 50 kilometers an hour or something. Then you feel even more of that calmness. So it's pretty relaxed. And especially if we compare earlier test drives, like for example the Seal sedan, there was bling, bling, blang, blong, something always annoying. And here it's really, smoothed out. They worked on the software, so it is suitable now for the European market. The only thing, as I said earlier, when you drive these really, really high speeds, then you sometimes feel like, hey, this is not on the levels with the Germans or with Tesla yet. Especially from the driving dynamics. That's the only thing really. All the other aspects, maybe a little bit more steering feel or something, but the other aspects are really very well executed. So you can see they are competitive now. They already sell so many vehicles in China, and they really want to push to the European market. And you feel that when they adjust here and here some things more, they are really like on this very good basis already, so we definitely have to watch out how the further development is. Pricing will be very interesting, not out yet at the time we film this video, and it will also depend on taxation, for example, how they can actually conquer the European market or not. Interesting, you maybe have read in the news that there is, like this discussion between the European Union and China about the taxation and tariffs on electric vehicles, because the Chinese government have been subsidizing the building of electric vehicles, the whole industry. It's nothing new or special, because also the American or the European government, they have also been subsidizing the companies. The only thing is that, from the Chinese government, they have actually maybe invested even more money in it. So this is maybe the relation, and then the EU is arguing this is too much, how you subsidize your car industry and then you bring them over to our market for cheaper prices. That's the current discussion. And then the question is who gets which kind of tariffs or not, or if they find an agreement. And the thing is that when you build them in China, it will also count, for example, for German manufacturers or Tesla, American manufacturers, when they build the cars in China and then import them to Europe. It's just in the question how much tax you have to pay for them. So in that case, everyone will be somewhat punished if they can't agree on something else. As for BYD, this is also especially interesting because they will be one of the rare Chinese manufacturers which will also build cars in Europe. Maybe not necessarily this one, but they will build a plant in Hungary, and then I guess they will start building their, smaller, more accessible electric vehicles there, then also for the European market. An average consumption for today is just under 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers, so that's a little bit over 3 miles per kilowatt hour. A decent result means here with this battery pack, which is in a net size, something a little bit over 100 kilowatt hours net, and this one here has a real-world range of a little bit over 500 kilometers and a little bit over 300 miles, which is actually in this segment here quite decent. What do you think about the BYD Tang, and also compare some of the competitors?